In September 1988, the stunning beauty of Kenya's Masai Mara Game Reserve became the backdrop for a chilling mystery that has remained unsolved for over 30 years. Julie Ward, a 28-year-old British photographer, was on a once-in-a-lifetime safari adventure. But instead of returning home with memories and photographs, she became the victim of a brutal and mysterious murder. Her father, John Ward, an ex-policeman, would spend the rest of his life fighting for the truth, uncovering a web of alleged cover-ups, corruption, and intrigue that reached the highest levels of power. This is the story of the unsolved murder of Julie Ward. Born in Suffolk, England, Julie Ward was known for her adventurous spirit and passion for wildlife photography. In early 1988, she set off an ambitious 7-month journey across Africa, with the Masai Mara as her final destination. As the trip neared its end, Julie was eager to capture the last images of the African wilderness before returning home. But the beauty of the Masai Mara would soon be overshadowed by a tragic fate. Julie's father, John Ward, was an ex-policeman, a fact that would later prove crucial in his relentless pursuit of justice. When he received a phone call that Julie had gone missing at the Masai Mara, John knew something was terribly wrong.
Family home in England, her father received word by telephone that she was missing. John Ward flew immediately to Africa to help in the search for his daughter, only to discover that no official search was underway.
I got very angry, as a matter of fact, and I still feel very angry about it now, because I really believe if these people had acted responsibly, she probably would be alive today.
On September 5th, 1988, while on safari, Julie and her companion encountered car trouble. With her companion returning to Nairobi for assistance, Julie spent the night alone at the Mara Serena Lodge. The following day, Julie set out to retrieve her camping equipment from Sand River Camp. It was the last time anyone would see her alive.
She was adamant. She said, I've traveled through Africa before, I'll be okay.
One of the last to see Julie alive was American balloon pilot David Weston. After Julie's vehicle was repaired, he tried to convince her not to drive the 150 miles back to Nairobi alone, but Julie wouldn't buy it.
She told me that she was going to go back to her campsite to pick her tent up and then continue on to Nairobi from there. She drove off, and that was the last I ever saw of her.
After the strange phone call, John Ward immediately flew to Kenya, beginning a search that would lead to a grim discovery. Julie's burned and dismembered remains were found on September 13, 1988. The initial explanation from Kenyan authorities was that she was struck by lightning and partially eaten by animals. That was both shocking and suspicious.
John Ward flew immediately to Africa to help. John Ward mounted his own aerial search for Julie's vehicle, first above the road from Nairobi, then over the game park itself. 6 days after she disappeared, in a remote area of the park, Julie's vehicle was found stuck at the bottom of a gully.
There was a fire, I found a leg and a jaw. It was a bad day.
Worst day of your life?
Not interested in justice or revenge or anything. I haven't got there yet. I still want to know what happened to her in those last 6 days.
John Ward, with his investigative background, knew something wasn't right. His persistence led to the discovery that Julie had been murdered. Her body had been dismembered with a sharp instrument and then set on fire. This horrifying revelation contradicted the authorities' initial claims and suggested a much darker reality.
All the patients who come in, right, address, what their diagnosis, what they get, treatment. Halfway down here, Julie Ward.
And the date is 1988, but it's July?
But it's the wrong month, you see. 12/7/12/88. She's already dead by then. So someone has got it all wrong, but they've gone out of their way to do this. And an MP's involved, and a minister is involved. You see, what the hell's it all about? So I thought, well, I know it was a forgery, so there was no point in pursuing it. There was no follow-on lead to it. But on the other hand, I'd like to know the circumstances of how this got photocopied, who did it and why, because it may well be part of the overall thing to the red herrings, you see.
Ward's suspicions grew as he delved deeper into the case, uncovering inconsistencies and possible cover-ups. The more he pushed, the more resistance he encountered, from local authorities to high-ranking officials. But the most shocking twist came from an explosive expose in the Nairobi Law Monthly, which pointed a finger at Jonathan Moi, the son of then-President Daniel Arap Moi. In a bold move, the Nairobi Law Monthly published an article in 2012 implicating Jonathan Moi in Julie Ward's tragic death. The expose suggested that Moi had encountered Julie near the Serena Lodge, leading to her untimely demise, and that a cover-up was then orchestrated. This sensational story sent shockwaves across the nation, but it was quickly dismissed by authorities as unfounded. The article's allegations were publicly refuted, and the journalists involved faced significant pressure and intimidation. Despite the official denials, rumors continued to swirl. Jonathan Moi maintained his innocence, denying any involvement, but the Ward family, along with several independent investigators, remained unconvinced. In an article written by the Star Kenya, Jonathan Moi is quoted saying, "I am totally shocked to hear this," Jonathan told the Star yesterday. "I had no relationship with the said lady, Julie, and I even didn't know her. I never did such a thing, and it has never crossed my mind to do it." Years after Julie Ward's murder, another mysterious death added new layers of intrigue to the case. In 1998, Jonathan Moi's brother-in-law, Ibrahim Choge, who had also been his co-driver in safari rally races, passed away under circumstances that some found suspicious. Ibrahim Choge passed on a road accident. Choge, who had been close to Jonathan Moi, abruptly stopped working for the Moi family shortly before his death. This led to speculation that Choge might have had knowledge about the events surrounding Julie's death, raising questions that continue to linger. The connection between Choge's death and Julie Ward's murder remains speculative, but for the Ward family, it was another indication of the lengths to which those involved might go to conceal the truth. John Ward became increasingly convinced that his daughter's death was linked to the highest levels of Kenyan society, and he wasn't alone in his suspicions. Over the years, John Ward spent nearly €2 million and made more than 100 trips to Kenya in his quest for justice. His investigation was relentless, uncovering a web of corruption and cover-ups that seemed designed to protect powerful figures. But despite his efforts, every attempt to bring those responsible to justice was met with roadblocks.
Authorities proposed a theory.
She had, for some reason, wandered away from her Jeep, gone in the wrong direction, got way out in the bush, and in order to try and protect herself from the animals, had lit a fire and had either been jumped from behind and pushed into it or something.
Initially indicated murder, but by the time John saw the report, it had been crudely altered to blame the animals.
I mean, we're talking now about Kenya's chief government pathologist who's forging post-mortem reports.
The trials of 3 individuals in connection with Julie's death ended in acquittals, with the evidence against them dismissed as insufficient. The cases were marred by allegations of tampering and interference. Even when new leads emerged, they were quickly shut down, leaving the Ward family to face the harsh reality that justice might never be served.
Only 2 rangers on duty at the time of the disappearance, and their stories didn't jibe. And in those 2 rangers' huts, detectives found some hairs.
There's no doubt it's her hair. We didn't find any other Caucasian hairs here at all, no ginger hairs or black hairs.
The rangers may have rescued Julie from the stuck vehicle and then brought her to the outpost, where after a day or 2, things got nasty.
I fear she must have been and once that happened, they really couldn't let her, and then tried to totally just burn her so that there was just nothing left of her at all to be identified.
Arrested and charged with murder were Rangers Jonah Roy and Peter Capine. Their trial, which started in February, is still going on. Julie's mother, Jan, attends every day, forcing herself to hear the testimony and see the evidence.
In December 2009, A key witness, Valentine Uhuru Kodipo, who had sought asylum in Denmark, died under mysterious circumstances. Kodipo had been living in exile for over 20 years, fearful of the consequences of his knowledge about Julie Ward's murder. John Ward, determined to uncover the truth, had traveled to Denmark on several occasions in an attempt to get Kodipo to make a formal statement. Despite earlier dismissing Kodipo as an unreliable witness, Ward was willing to explore any lead that could bring justice for his daughter. The last address Ward was given for Kodipo was a psychiatric institution, raising further questions about the strange and tragic twist in this case. Kodipo's untimely death added another layer of complexity to the already convoluted investigation, leaving many to wonder if he knew too much for his own safety. Following Jonathan Moi's death in 2019, John Ward sensed a renewed optimism in his quest for answers. With the passing of the man long suspected of involvement in his daughter's murder, whispers of long-buried secrets began to surface. People who had remained silent for decades out of fear or loyalty slowly started coming forward with new information. One particularly gripping moment came when a clothing vendor who had sold second-hand clothes to the wives of park rangers discreetly handed Ward a folded note. The note chillingly read, "The man who killed your daughter is Jonathan Moi," along with a Mombasa PO Box number. This revelation, though not officially corroborated, added weight to the growing belief that the truth about Julie's murder had been an open secret among some, but had been stifled by fear of powerful retribution. The unsolved murder of Julie Ward has become a case study in the failures of justice system, not just in Kenya but internationally. In 2020, Netflix showed its interest in producing a documentary series based on the case, bringing renewed attention to Julie Ward's story and the Ward's family's decades-long battle. John Ward and his wife Jan passed away in 2023, never seeing justice for their daughter.
His
but
son,
his legacy
Rob
lives
Ward,
on
looks
through
on.
his sons,
He
Bob
is soon
and
to
Tim
take over
Ward,
this
who have
family's
vowed
quest
to
for
continue the
justice.
fight. They remain convinced that Jonathan Moi was involved in Julie's death, and they refuse to let her story be forgotten. The case of Julie Ward is a haunting reminder of the lengths some will go to cover up the truth and the devastating impact that can have on those seeking justice. As new witnesses come forward and old evidence is re-examined, the question remains, will the truth ever come to light? If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up so that we may reach more people and continue putting the word out there. Also, do remember to keep the comments respectful, as these
I
are
long for the
sensitive
day when I never have
topics.
to come to
What
this place
story
again.
would you
I
like us
find
to
it
uncover
an
here
eerie
on our
place.
YouTube channel?
I
Tell us
loathe
in the
the
comment
corruption.
section.
The place is
And
riddled
yeah,
with the
do
corruption from
subscribe for
top to
more
bottom.
news and catch you next time.